Okay, let's maybe set aside the usual Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc for a moment. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a white grape with, well, a really fascinating story. Ancient history, modern style, Fiano.
Fiano. Yeah, it's one of those grapes that maybe flies a bit under the radar but has so much depth.
Exactly. Like finding a hidden gem.
Totally. And we've gathered quite a bit of info articles digging into its history, its characteristics, plus what sommeliers are saying about it, the wines it makes.
Right. And our mission here, as always, is to sort of boil all that down for you. I
Yeah.
want to pull out the really key stuff, the fascinating bits about Fiano.
Give you the shortcut, basically, so you understand why it's getting people excited and why the wines are, well, pretty special.
Okay, let's start at the beginning. Where does this grape actually come from?
Its story really kicks off in southern Italy. We're talking Campania, primarily.
Ancient roots, right?
Oh, yeah, really ancient. There's even a theory linking it to something called Vitis Appiana, which Roman writers like Pliny the Elder mentioned.
Vitis Appiana. Appiana sounds like bees.
Exactly. It translates to of the bees. The idea is that the grapes were so sweet and aromatic, they just naturally attracted bees.
Wow, imagine that. Bees buzzing around these ancient vineyards in Roman Italy. That gives you a real sense of its history.
It does, a very long lineage, but its journey wasn't always smooth sailing.
No, I gather it sort of faded for a while.
Yeah, like a lot of Italy's indigenous grapes, Fiano kind of fell out of favor in the 20th century. International varieties became more popular, easier to sell, maybe.
Okay.
But thankfully, in the last few decades, there's been this fantastic resurgence driven by really passionate producers who saw its potential, its quality.
And there was a key moment that really helped cement that comeback, wasn't there?
Oh, absolutely. The big one was Fiano di Avellino getting DOCG status.
Right. The highest tier in Italy.
Precisely. Think of it as Italy's guarantee of quality and regional character. Stricter rules, specific area. It really validated Fiano, put it up there with Italy's best white grapes.
And that helped its reputation grow beyond Italy.
Definitely. Since then, it's been steadily gaining traction. You see it more and more on, interesting wine lists and good wine shops around the world.
Okay, so it's got this rich history. It's made a comeback.
Yeah.
But what is it about the grape itself?
Yeah.
What makes Fiano, well, Fiano? Let's talk vines.
Okay, yeah. The ampelography, the vine science bit. Fiano tends to have medium to small bunches, sort of cylindrical or maybe conical shaped. And the berries, small to medium, they go through this nice color change, starting greenish yellow and ripening to this lovely golden hue. And crucially, the skin is relatively thick. That's quite important.
Thick skin. I always wonder how much that affects the wine.
A lot, actually. It's packed with phenolic compounds. These are the things in the skins that give precursors for aroma, a bit of tannin color.
Right.
So that thick skin contributes to the wine's aromatic complexity, gives it a subtle structure, almost a little grip, and helps it age well, too.
Interesting. And its growing cycle. Is it an early bird or a late bloomer?
It's a bit of both, actually. It buds quite early in spring, which can make it a bit vulnerable to those late spring frosts you sometimes get. But then it takes its time ripening. It's a medium to late ripener.
And that longer time on the vine is good, presumably.
But yes, very good.
Yeah.
It's key for developing that full aromatic spectrum. Allows the sugars to develop fully, the phenolics in the skins to ripen properly, and it holds on to its acidity really well.
But late ripening means risk at the other end of the season.
Exactly. Autumn frosts can be a worry, so yeah, it's a bit of a balancing act for the growers.
Right, keeping an eye on the weather. You mentioned its enological potential earlier. Does that mean it's versatile in the winery?
Oh, hugely versatile. Definitely not a one-trick pony. That combination of aromatics, acidity, the skin compounds, it means Fiano can make fantastic high-quality wines with real aging potential.
So different styles are possible.
Absolutely. You can get bright, fresh, aromatic whites, perfect for drinking young, but also more complex, structured wines that can evolve beautifully in the cellar. And even sparkling Fiano.
Sparkling Fiano. Now that I didn't expect. We definitely need to talk more about that later.
We will.
But first, let's talk terroir. Where does Fiano really shine? Where does it feel most at home?
Well, its absolute heartland is Campania, southern Italy, no question.
Yeah.
And within Campania, the Irpinia area, that's where Fiano di Avellino DOCG comes from, is really special.
Well, what makes Irpinia special for Fiano?
It's a combination of things. You've got volcanic soils, some clay too, high altitudes, which is important, and big temperature shifts between day and night.
That diurnal range helps keep the acidity, right?
Precisely. It all comes together to create these really complex, mineral-driven wines that can age for ages. But Fiano's grown elsewhere in Campania too, like Salento, Benevento. Each area brings its own little twist.
So even within Campania, you get variations.
Yeah.
Does it grow well outside Campania too?
It does. You find it in other parts of southern Italy, Puglia, Basilicata, even Sicily.
And how does it change in, say, Puglia?
Puglia is generally warmer, drier. So the Fianos there tend to be maybe a bit richer, showing more ripe fruit notes. Fuller body, often a slightly softer acidity compared to Campania. Fiano di Puglia IGP covers a wider area there.
Okay. And Basilicata, Sicily, smaller plantings?
Yeah, smaller scale for now, but really promising. They have unique terroirs, different soils, different microclimates, potentially leading to some really original expressions of Fiano down the line.
It really sounds like that typical Mediterranean profile sun. Warmth is important, but moderated.
Exactly. You need the sun and heat for ripening, but things like altitude are crucial for preserving that freshness, that acidity, and the soils play a huge part too.
Volcanic for minerality, you said.
Often, yeah. Volcanic soils can impart that flinty, sort of wet stone character. Clay limestone might give more finesse. It's about finding that sweet spot, enough warmth to ripen, but cool enough conditions, maybe from altitude or coastal breezes, to keep the acidity lively.
So the interaction is key. The grape plus the place equals the style.
That's it. High-altitude volcanic soils like in Irpinia. You get structured, elegant wines built to last, warmer spots, lower altitude, maybe fuller, fruitier styles for enjoying sooner.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so growers bring in these great grapes. How do winemakers actually turn them into wine? Are there different approaches in the cellar?
Oh, definitely. You see a range. Some stick to more traditional ways, maybe using native yeasts for fermentation, aging in big old neutral barrels that don't add oak flavor.
Right.
Others go for more modern techniques. Temperature-controlled fermentation, often in stainless steel tanks to preserve freshness, maybe using specific cultured yeasts to guide the aroma profile.
And what about that skin contact you mentioned?
Some winemakers do use a short period of skin contact, yeah. Just a few hours, usually before pressing. It can pull out a bit more aroma, a little more texture from those thick skins.
So these different choices lead directly to the different styles we find in the bottle.
Exactly. If you want that really fresh, vibrant, fruity Fiano, you'll probably ferment and age it in steel, keep it clean and bright. But for the Fianos meant for aging, well, they might get slightly different treatment. Longer ripening, maybe that skin contact we talked about, aging on the lees.
Lees aging resting on the spent yeast cells.
Yeah, Sir Lai. It adds texture, complexity, those sort of bready, nutty notes over time, and sometimes a little bit of oak might be used.
Oh, I thought Fiano was mostly unoaked.
Mostly, yes, but some producers might use a touch of oak, usually older barrels, second or third use, or larger formats. So it just adds a subtle layer of spice or structure, not overt oaky flavors. It has to be handled carefully with Fiano.
Okay. And the sparkling Fiano, how do they make that?
Typically using the traditional method, same way they make champagne.
So second fermentation in the bottle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Creates those fine bubbles, retains that lovely Fiano acidity, and you get delicate fruit notes alongside maybe some yeasty complexity from the process. It's quite elegant.
It sounds like winemakers have a lot of levers they can pull. Skin contact, temperature, yeast choice, lees, oak, even malolactic fermentation.
Absolutely. Skin contact, as we said, for aromatics and structure. Temperature control is vital for keeping those delicate floral and fruit notes. Yeast selection can definitely shape the aroma profile.
Right.
Oak needs a gentle touch if used at all. Lees aging adds that creamy texture and complexity. And malolactic fermentation, converting the sharp malic acid to softer lactic acid, that's a stylistic choice. Do you want maximum crispness or a slightly rounder feel? Depends on the wine you're aiming for.
Okay, fascinating stuff. We've covered the history, the grape, the places, the winemaking. Now, the really fun part, what does Fiano actually taste and smell like? Let's get into the sensory side.
Okay. When Fiano is young, it often has this lovely aromatic profile. Think white peach, maybe some apricot, a distinct nutty note, often hazelnut, and some really pretty floral hints like broomflower or hawthorn.
Hazelnut and white peach. That sounds delicious. What about on the palate?
The flavors usually follow the nose. You get that stone fruit, maybe a citrus element like lemon zest, balanced by this really vibrant acidity. And a key characteristic for many Fianos is minerality.
That volcanic soil influence, perhaps, like wet stone.
Exactly, that wet stone, flinty, sometimes chalky kind of character. It adds another layer of complexity. But you might also find some subtle herbal notes sometimes, like sage or thyme.
And the texture, is it light or does it have some weight?
Generally, Fiano sits in the medium to full-bodied range. It's not a light, flimsy wine. It has presence. That acidity gives it great structure, and sometimes you feel that little bit of texture from the skins or lees aging.
Right, that slight phenolic grip you mentioned.
Yeah, or creaminess if it spent time on lees.
And you said it ages well. How does it change over time? What happens to those aromas and flavors?
It evolves beautifully. Those primary fruity and floral notes of youth tend to become less prominent and they integrate. Then you start getting these more complex secondary and tertiary aromas developing.
Like what?
Think honey, beeswax, dried apricot, toasted nuts like almond, and that minerality can become even more pronounced, more complex.
And the feel of the wine.
The texture often becomes richer, smoother, more seamless as the acidity integrates. It gains depth and complexity. It's really quite something to taste an older Fiano.
It sounds like it. And I guess the region makes a difference here too. Warmer places, different profile.
Definitely. Fiano from, say, Puglia might show riper fruit, feel a bit fuller, and maybe have slightly softer acidity compared to a high-altitude Fiano from Irpinia, which would likely be more linear, mineral, and high acid.
Okay, so these complex, aromatic, structured wines, they must be great with food. What kind of pairings work well?
Fiano is fantastic with food, really versatile. It works brilliantly with Southern Italian food, of course, but also lots of international dishes.
For the younger, fresher styles.
Those are perfect with seafood, grilled fish, shellfish, calamari, light pasta dishes with vegetables, maybe a lemon sauce. Fresh cheeses like mozzarella or ricotta work really well too.
Classic Mediterranean pairings.
Yeah.
And the more serious, structured Fianos, the ones with a bit of age or more texture.
They can handle richer food. Think roasted chicken or pork, maybe veal. Seafood risotto is a great call. Pasta with creamy sauces, mushroom dishes, medium-aged cheeses too.
What about specific DOCGs, like Fiano di Avellino? Any classic pairings there?
Fiano di Avellino with its minerality and acidity is stunning with things like truffle pasta or risotto, richer fish preparations, maybe baked or with a sauce. And it's fantastic with aged cheeses like a caciocavallo, maybe?
Truffle pasta. And Salento Fiano, you said it's maybe fruitier.
Yeah, often a bit more fruit-forward, still with good minerality from the coast. Great with the classic coastal stuff, fried anchovies or other fried fish, seafood salads, fresh goat cheese.
It sounds like the key is matching the wine's weight and intensity to the dish.
Exactly. Think about the wine's acidity. Does it need to cut through richness? Think about its aromatic intensity. Will it complement or clash with the food's flavors? And consider the body. It's all about balance.
Any other tips for creating a great Fiano food moment?
Well, think about the context. Is it a casual lunch or a fancy dinner? Serve it at the right temperature, not too cold, especially for the more complex ones. Good glassware helps. And honestly, just exploring the local food from Campania is a great starting point for pairings. They've evolved together.
Good point. Okay, we've mentioned Fiano di Avellino DOCG and Salento DOC. Are there other key names or labels we should know when looking for Fiano?
Those are the big two, quality-wise. Fiano di Avellino DOCG is the benchmark, really, strictest rules.
Remind us of those rules again.
Sure, it has to be 100% Fiano grapes, grown only in a specific delimited zone within the Avellino province. There are limits on how many grapes you can harvest per hectare, and minimum aging before release, all designed to guarantee that quality, structure, complexity, and age-worthiness we talked about.
Got it. And Salento DOC is a bit different.
Yeah, the rules are a bit more flexible. You can actually blend in a small amount of other local white grapes, though many are 100% Fiano. It's more coastal, often, as we said, a bit fruitier, maybe more immediate in style.
Is there an European DOC Fiano too?
Yes, there is. Irpinia DOC covers a broader area than the Avellino DOCG within the same province. The rules are a bit less stringent than the DOCG, so you can find a wider range of styles, potentially, under the Irpinia DOC label. Still potentially very high quality, though.
So the regulations are really about safeguarding the wine's identity and connection to place.
Precisely. Protecting quality, authenticity, typicity, making sure the wine reflects its terroir and the traditions behind it.
And are there specific producers or wine names that people should look out for, kind of benchmarks?
Oh, absolutely. There are some really iconic producers. Mastro Bernardino is historic. Their Radici Fiano di Avellino is a classic. And they also make Mora Bianca, Giro Picariello makes incredibly pure, terroir-driven Fiano di Avellino, really sought after.
Okay.
Then there's Quintodecimo, whose Fiano called Exultet is just stunningly elegant, a real benchmark. And down in Salento, Luigi Maffini's Chitrencatenata is a fantastic example of coastal Fiano, really complex.
Wow, quite a few names to explore there, each with their own style reflecting their specific vineyards.
Exactly. Tasting Fiano from different producers in different areas is the best way to understand its diversity.
It definitely sounds like there's a lot to discover.
Mhm.
So overall, how is Fiano doing in the market? Is it catching on?
It really is. Wine lovers are increasingly looking for alternatives to the big, common international grapes. They want something different, something with character and a story.
And Fiano fits the bill.
Perfectly. Plus, it consistently gets good scores and reviews from wine critics, which obviously helps boost its profile and demand.
So you're seeing it more often out there.
Definitely. More presence on restaurant lists, especially those focusing on Italian wine or more interesting selections. And specialist wine shops are stocking a wider range. There's still room to grow, for sure, by really highlighting its unique qualities and that strong link to terroir.
That sounds promising. But are there challenges ahead for Fiano? What hurdles does it face?
Well, some challenges are shared with the whole wine world. Climate change is a big one. How do you maintain that crucial acidity and freshness as things get warmer? There's also just intense competition in the white wine market globally, and continuing to build awareness outside of Italy is still important, making sure people know what Fiano is and why it's special.
Any other concerns? Maybe about the vines themselves?
Yeah, maintaining genetic diversity within the Fiano variety is important for its long-term health and adaptability. And of course, sustainability in the vineyard is becoming increasingly critical.
Are producers embracing sustainable practices, organic, biodynamic?
More and more are, yes. There's a growing understanding that healthy soils and biodiversity aren't just good for the environment, they're good for the wine. They lead to a more authentic expression of place, better grape quality, and potentially wines that live longer too.
That makes sense. What about research? Are people still working to understand Fiano better?
Oh, for sure. There's ongoing work both in the vineyard viticulture and in the winery enology.
Like what kind of research?
In the vineyard, things like selecting the best Fiano clones for specific conditions, studying different root stocks, using precision farming techniques to manage vineyards more effectively.
And in the winery.
Experimentation continues. Trying different fermentation vessels, steel, concrete, large oak, maybe even amphora. Playing with lees, aging times and techniques, refining temperature control, exploring different yeast strains. It's all about unlocking the full potential and exploring the different stylistic possibilities of Fiano.
So, despite the challenges, the outlook seems pretty positive.
I think so, yeah. Fiano has so much going for it. Its quality, its history, its ability to adapt and express different terroirs. It's perfectly positioned as a premium, interesting alternative in the white wine world. The key is just continuing the promotion and education, getting the word out.
Well, this has been a fantastic deep dive. We've really covered a lot of ground on Fiano.
We certainly have.
Just to quickly recap for everyone listening.
Yeah.
We've talked about its ancient Italian origins, its unique vine characteristics like those thick skins, the amazing range of elegant wines it can produce from fresh to complex to sparkling, and how it's really gaining deserved recognition.
And that crucial link between terroir, where it's grown, the soils, the altitude, and the winemaking choices that shape the final wine.
Absolutely. And we hope this gives you, our listener, a really good handle on Fiano, a quick way to get up to speed on this fascinating grape, maybe learn a few surprising things, and feel a bit more in the know.
Yeah, hopefully it sparks some curiosity.
So maybe the next time you're looking for a white wine, you'll think, which Fiano region should I try? Should I look for one of those producers we mentioned?
Or just take a chance on Fiano as something different from your usual go-to white.
Exactly. It's this ancient grape that's so relevant today with a really bright future. Definitely worth seeking out and discovering for yourself.
Couldn't agree more. And bringing you these kinds of insights is what we love doing here.
Until our next deep dive.